Hey, get down! Okay, stand up. Get down again! Ladies, gentlemen, and Herodrum of all ages, we have quite the big event coming up right around the corner. The Abattoir of Zir is dropping on December 5th to really sort of just cap off Season 2 of Diablo 4 with a pretty big bang. An ultra endgame mechanic that promises to really test our characters, our builds, and our skill as players. And so, of course, for anyone who is level 100, for anyone who wants to try and become more powerful, especially because of the brand new Paragon glyph that the activity will drop, this is a priority. It's something that you're looking forward to trying, and for some, it is an obstacle that they really want to clear. The developers have said for ages that this is going to be difficult, that they don't think a single person will even be able to beat tier 25, which is the final tier, and we even very recently had a campfire chat stream where the developers gave us a live demo of this event so that we could actually see what's going on. All that said, with all the information in consideration, of course the next step was to create a build that I believe has the absolute highest chance of getting as far as possible into the Abattoir of Zir as quickly as possible, a sort of setup that I think is a guaranteed victory for tier 1 at the very least, and of course specifically I want to do this today with the Rogue. Today's build is quite simply a very heavy defensive variation of Poison Twisting Blades. This build itself scales extremely well at the upper end, and due to lucky hit procs can basically just create all of its own offense through your Legendaries and Uniques mainly, which opens up the ability to focus your skill points and Paragon board more towards defensive options, which is very important as Rogue is the squishiest class. We are expected to use our mobility as a defensive measure, but this allows us to actually become somewhat tanky in our own right. All that said, let's dive on into actually where we put our skill points and why, our specialization of choice, our legendaries and uniques, our general gearing ideals, the vampiric powers that boost this up, and then of course our Paragon board setup and any tips that I have for playing this way for anyone unfamiliar with the playstyle. Without further ado then, for your basic skill we are of course going to be taking puncture, as well as enhanced puncture and fundamental puncture. This is a classic for its ability to apply slow and vulnerable consistently, but it serves even greater purpose within this specific build. Then we go and grab full ranks of Twisting Blades, as well as getting enhanced Twisting Blades to improve the return damage, and then also improved Twisting Blades, which dazes enemies that are impaled by your blades. Past that, we're also going to be grabbing 3 ranks of the Sturdy passive for 12% damage reduction from close enemies. Then we move on to our next cluster, and we're here going to be grabbing Shadow Step, as well as its enhancement, and then also Disciplined Shadow Step to lower the cooldown if you hit a fresh enemy with it. This is damage, it is a teleportation, it gives you unstoppable, it's just really solid as a singular ability. And it's also especially useful, as we saw in the demonstration at the campfire chat, that the quote-unquote end boss of the Abattoir seems to just be a particularly dangerous pack of 3 elites, but that means that there are multiple enemies there, and importantly means that they are also beholden to crowd control rules, which is a really big deal. Here then we're also going to be grabbing Dash, none of its enhancements, just the base version. It's just an awesome movement tool, and especially in situations of high damage intake, it can easily save your life. Then we take 1 rank of Rapid Gambits, mostly just as a gateway to get us 3 ranks of Trick Attacks. Critically striking a dazed enemy knocks them down for 1.5 seconds. This is incredible for the end section of Abattoir, and also just any elite packs at all within Abattoir, because you can get a solid knockdown chain on the elites by just putting Twisting Blades in each one of them and fighting normally past that point. After that we move on to our next cluster, and here we're going to be picking up Smoke Grenade here, as well as its enhancement too. This just gives you an AoE daze application that also boosts the damage that you do to enemies in the radius. Then we're also going to be grabbing 1 rank of Dark Shroud, as well as its enhancement and also Subverting Dark Shroud too. We generate shadows for this skill for free without even having it on our bars, which makes it actually exceptionally valuable. And we're also going to be picking up 3 ranks of the Exploit passive for a chunk of bonus damage to both healthy and injured enemies before we move on to our Imbuement cluster. Here we're going to be taking full ranks of Poison Imbuement, of course, as the main sort of star of the show here, and of course we're also going to be taking its enhancement for a longer duration on the poison effect itself, and then also Blended Poison Imbuement, which makes critical hits with poison imbued skills do 75% bonus poisoning damage. Then we just pick up a bunch of passives, 3 ranks of Deadly Venom for increased poison damage, 3 ranks of Debilitating Toxins for reduced damage from poison enemies, then also 1 rank of Alchemical Advantage for attack speed boost per poisoned enemies. Then we're just going to be taking 3 ranks of Frigid Finesse over here for bonus damage against chilled targets. We achieve chill with our boots of choice here, so this actually has some effect. Then in our ultimate cluster, we're going to only be taking passives, 1 rank of Innervation for a low lucky hit chance to restore some energy, 3 ranks of Alchemist Fortune for a boost to lucky hit chance with non-physical damage, then also 3 ranks of Second Wind to boost lucky hit chance for every 100 energy that you spend. Then we're going to be taking 1 rank of Adrenaline Rush here, mostly just as a gateway to get 3 ranks of Haste to boost our movement speed when above 50 energy and our attack speed when below. Finally, we're going to be taking our key passive here, which is of course going to be Close Quarters Combat. We can keep both of these bonuses active consistently due to our Marksman basic skill and our Cutthroat core skill. Moving on from here, we have our Specialization choice, and of course with Rogue being how it is right now, it's sort of just impossible to not use combo points in a high tier build due to the bugged interaction with Tibault's Will, giving you up to 20 extra combo points, which of course just provides a massive damage boost. From there, let's talk about Legendaries and Uniques then. First and foremost, I just mentioned it, Tibault's Will. A high rolled one of these will just essentially fuel your damage heavily, or at least create a fantastic foundation for damage. You want the highest maximum resource bonus roll possible, as well as the roll on the unique effect itself. Ideally, the other stats will be pretty good too, but those are your main two priorities with this piece when judging the quality of it. The combo that goes with this then is actually the Condemnation Unique Dagger. This is a 30% chance when using a basic skill to instantly give you 3 combo points, but realistically what that actually means is maximum combo points because they thought it was 3, and because Tibault's Will can just boost your up to basically a maximum of 22 combo points. When this proc does happen, it will put you to maximum instantly, which is actually just a nutty, insane synergy that does a whole lot of good for us. Then we have Penitent Greaves, of course. This just gives us a way to apply chill to enemies, and along with its own effect of boosted damage to chilled enemies, we also have our passive skill boosting damage to chilled enemies too, and even further synergy with this in our Paragon board, so this is just really solid as a damage boost. Then we also have Zafal's Corroded Signet, 50% lucky hit chance on any damage over time effect to explode for a big burst of damage hitting the target and anyone near them. We have tons and tons of poison applications in this build, and pretty good lucky hit chance boost too, so this procs constantly and does incredible work as a result. Then we have our regular legendary aspects on our two-handed slot for the double power. We have the Corruption aspect for a significant boost to our imbuement potency. Then on our amulet for 50% increased power, we have the Umbrous aspect, which gives us a super high chance on any puncture crit, a free Dark Shroud Shadow, giving us a ton of bonus defense, basically nearly for free. Then we also have the aspect of Pestilent Points to make every third puncture cast count as poison imbued, the Bursting Venoms aspect as well for 15% lucky hit chance on any poison imbued skill to pop a circle of poison on the floor that also just lets you infinitely cast poison imbuement without a cooldown as long as you're standing in it. Essentially, this just wipes whatever is on your screen when it happens as a result. It's basically a nuclear option. Then we have the Blade Dancer's aspect as well, just to give us the Orbiting Twisting Blades for more chances to actually apply poison imbuement to enemies when you imbue your twisting blades. Then for our defensive aspects, we have the aspect of Might, as we are currently just throwing out basic skills, so this is basically just permanently active, as well as the aspect of Disobedience for a significant armor boost too. Worth noting for those with Uber Uniques, you would of course just simply slot in Shaco if you had it for a massive improvement. Same goes with Duriel's, and this especially as it is another source of poison damage that does use lucky hit, fitting very naturally and perfectly in with this build to make that Uber even better than it normally is. And of course, if you had Doombringer, you would also want to slot that into this. As far as the affixes and stats for your gear though, you want your Twisting Blades ranks increase on your gloves, you want poison imbuement ranks on your helmets, as well as general imbuement ranks on your amulet too, as poison imbuement is technically our main source of damage. Then you want decent crit chance wherever you can get it, lots of attack speed, resource cost reduction, cooldown reduction, and resource generation as well. Increases are also great. You want damage against close enemies, you want main stat, those types of classic things. Then defensively, you just want to stack a ton of different types that are constantly active. Damage reduction in general, damage to close enemies, damage reduction from distant enemies as well, total armor percent bonuses, you know, the normal culprits for this. With that covered then, let's talk about the Vampiric Powers for this build, and again we are going to be leaning more towards the defensive side here than we normally would. We still are of course taking Ravenous for a massive attack speed boost when the lucky hit procs in relation to our movement speed, Undying for the constant ridiculous healing that it gives us. Then we also have Flowing Veins, which increases the damage over time that you do to enemies that are affected by Vampiric Curse, or if they are just moving as well. Resilience, which gives you scaling damage reduction depending on how low your health actually gets, but this one is actually incredible for most damage intake reduction purposes. Then Metamorphosis, both for more sources of Unstoppable to prevent crowd control issues and deaths to that, and also as a way to apply Vampiric Curse too. Accursed Touch would technically be offensively stronger than Metamorphosis here, but Metamorphosis is a much better defensive option that still gives you the synergy that you want if you use it right. And to round out this section then, let's just talk about our absolutely massive Paragon board setup. And again, remember we are leaning towards defense here over offense. That is sort of the main point of this, as you only get one life and we definitely do enough damage that that's not a problem. As our lucky hit procs and poison imbuement will just carry the hell out of us there. On the starting board then, we're going to head up the left side through the all-res rare node, wrap around, and then also grab the damage boost rare node too. Then you want to head to the glyph socket here and stick in the control glyph for bonus damage to crowd controlled enemies, as well as bonus damage to slowed and chilled enemies too. You want to grab all the intelligence within the radius, then grab the rare nodes as well, then head up the left side of the board to reach the actual gate, and attach on the cheap shop board with the glyph on the left side. You want to head up and veer left to grab the offensive rare and magic nodes over here. Then you want to move upwards to the glyph socket itself so you can stick in the devious glyph, which gives a boost to all nearby magic nodes, as well as a stacking debuff that increases our damage done against enemies when you hit them with a crowd control effect. After that, you want to wrap around the legendary node itself for the board, which is bonus damage increase based on how many crowd-controlled enemies are nearby. Then you want to wrap around through the damage to crowd-controlled enemies rare node and magic nodes 2, then you want to round off upwards for the damage reduction from elites rare and magic nodes 2, then head up the right side exit and attach on the Leirana's instinct board with the glyph socket in the bottom left side. You want to head to that glyph socket pretty much immediately so that you can stick in the efficacy glyph over here for a bonus to nearby rare nodes, as well as a damage bonus multiplier with our imbued skills. Then you want to get the relevant rare and magic nodes as well as just enough intelligence to actually activate the secondary effect of the glyph. Then you want to head up the bottom side of the board and attach on the no witnesses board like this with the legendary node on the bottom side. Here you want to go down and right to get to the glyph socket as quickly as you can, and in here you want to put in the closer glyph, which increases your damage with cutthroat skills and also decreases the damage that you take while wielding a melee weapon. Then you want to get all the dex and rare and magic nodes of relevance in the radius too, and it's definitely worth mentioning, this is where you would want to put your Tears of Blood glyph that you get from the Abattoir once you unlock it, as it is the most direct translation within this board setup without massive change that will still significantly boost your damage pretty much in an instant. After that, you want to head out of the right side of the board, picking up the rare node along the way of course, and stick on the Eldritch Bounty board with the legendary node in the bottom left. Head directly towards that legendary node, making sure to get this rare node that increases your imbued skill damage on the way, and the legendary effect itself gives you bonus maximum resistance and bonus damage with poison after we use a poison imbued skill. So this is pretty just consistently active and is a pretty solid damage boost as a result. Then you want to head to the upper side of the board through the rare node here, up and around to get to the glyph socket itself, and stick in the Bane glyph, which gives you bonus poison damage and a low chance to do double poison damage when poison is procced. You want to grab the imbued skill damage rare node here, as well as the required strength within the radius. Once the radius of this is increased, mine isn't, it would be activated. Then you want to actually head out the top side of the board first to attach on the Tricks of the Trade board like this with the glyph socket in the bottom left corner. Then you want to actually head directly up towards the glyph socket in the exact path that I have here, and inside of this you want to put in the Turf glyph. This increases your damage to close enemies, as well as damage reduction from close enemies too. Then you want to head right just a little bit to grab the Armor rare node, as well as the 2 Strength rare nodes, which will perfectly activate this glyph. Then you want to head back down and around to get out to the right side of the previous board and attach on the Deadly Ambush board with the glyph socket on the left side like so. Head over and down to get to the socket as quickly as you can, and here you want to put in the Exploit glyph, our final glyph here, which increases your damage against vulnerable enemies and also gives you a free vulnerable application when you first damage an enemy. Then you just want to grab enough strength to activate it with your few remaining points, and that should perfectly do it. 7 glyphs, high impact, high defense, really solid for what we are trying to accomplish here. And that does it as far as putting the build together itself. So what about actually playing the build? Well, your main goal is to keep as mobile as possible all the time. Use Poison Imbuement on cooldown, use Twisting Blades when at full combo points, putting them into the biggest or scariest enemy in a pack, then move around to the other side of the pack, always trying to put your Twisting Blades into a different enemy each time you cast it. Your basic skill actually does a lot of damage with the way that we have this set up too, so don't be afraid to straight up spam it. And your big moment is if a Bursting Venom's pool spawns in, then you can just stand in it, spamming Poison Imbuement Twisting Blades unstoppably, which just nukes everything anywhere close to you pretty much instantly. Aside from that, we have Shadow Step as a bonus source of Unstoppable and a get out of jail free card, as well as Dash just for a general movement tool to help you avoid tougher situations. And that pretty much does it then, everyone. The rogue build that I put together that I believe to have the best chance of getting some real distance in the Abattoir of Zir event right at the release. The developers specifically said that they will not touch the combo points bug, but even in the world where they did, this would still remain about as powerful as it is. It would not be nerfed as much as other combo points based rogue builds, as the damage is much more generated from the poison itself than Twisting Blade specifically. As long as you make a point of avoiding the larger one-shotty attacks with this as well, which is easy enough with both Dash and Shadow Step, this is more than tanky enough for the hardest content currently in the game, so it should definitely get the job done, at least in the early stages of Abattoir of Zir. I hope you've all enjoyed this then, and let me know what you are planning to bring to the Abattoir if it's not this, and if you do want to bring this in and try it in the Abattoir, make sure to let me know how it went once you've tried it. Like if you liked the video, subscribe with the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.